All right, welcome back. We're going to do another run through. This time it's with Firemon. Honestly, this system, this product, this offering has got so many things that you could possibly do with it that I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface of running through everything that's available. I've been messing with the system for a couple of days now. As always on these demo videos, I don't have any formal training other than sort of reading what I can read and a couple of emails with somebody back and forth. That's about it. So this is as raw as it gets. But I can tell you just from poking around and getting into what I've gotten into, super capable system, almost mind-boggling in the capabilities that are there from having been someone that's sat inside of network operation centers and security operation centers. The fact that you can see everything in one spot and actually have some control and the ability to reach out and touch stuff, incredibly valuable. But I'm just going to show you a couple of very limited things that I'm going to put in front of you that I think are substantially different from what you see in most of the market for this particular sector. And as you know, as you are interested and want to talk more, I would suggest talking to the folks at Firemon. So that being said, let's click through a couple things. Bear with me because these are raw. Like, I'm not trained. I'm not running full bore with this. I'm just going at it with the best that I got. Dashboard, device inventory. You can see what's there. I like this feature for cleanup, unused rules in the last 90 days, 153 unused rules. Good way to jump in and kind of see where you might have something you could fix pretty easily and optimize the system. Over here on the left, there are policy controller, there's the optimizer, the planner. Honestly, after looking through those things, those are pretty specific sort of networky type of control capabilities. I'm not even going to touch those right now, but really cool, really useful stuff that you could do there. You just have to be focused in doing I would say more of a network thing to get that in. That's not what I demo in these videos. So devices recently revised, people that have done something on a system so you could see what's been changed or configured. Very useful to see that in one spot. Put a rule in, easy, no regex, just throwing your rule in, bing, bang, bong, life goes on. I like that you can search by application or user as well, which is also very useful. And then as you look at this, typically, if you think about where you would be at a knock or a SOC or whatever, and you're trying to figure out where there might be a control failure, how would you know about that really easily? Well, here they are. And the cool thing is that this is from everything. This touches Azure, this touches AWS. They have it running up on sort of an internal on-prem stuff like this. You just take all of your things, all of the things, and throw that in there and let Firemon do what it does, and it's all in one spot, which is incredibly useful if you've ever run through that when it's not. There's lots of data science-y math things within Firemon. It's actually got kind of its own, I would say, language for what is what. Like, they talk about cumulative severity, security concern index, those types of things. You do have to get a little bit familiar with what some of those terms are, but once you do, there's a lot of value in being able to say, what is our SCI? And your SCI level is going up or down, which is security concern index. How do we fix the SCI? Cumulative severity, all these sort of mathy, sciencey, data sciencey type things. Super useful once you get the lingo down so that you're talking on the same sort of language. Complexity by device, very useful to be able to see what is super complex, what is not super complex. And obviously you can look at this pretty quickly and go, well, Azure is very, very complex. That would be expected. It's cloud thing, lots of moving parts, lots of things bouncing around. You can also see that Palo Alto is in there as well. And then there's a Palo Alto PCI. We'll get into the compliance thing in a second, which is honestly one of the niftiest features I've found. Rules contribute to control failure, critical, which is something I would want to know about if I was in charge of the system. I think it's great that Firemon's made it where you're not having to do this to that, to this, to that, to get to what you need to sort of know about on a system. It's literally, here it is, click this thing, you're there. Like I always have talked to folks about kind of like the rule of three. If I can see something and I can get to it in 3 clicks or less, it's useful. If it's more than that, it's probably actually hindering me doing my job. But here you find it, you see it, you click it, you're done. Like it's very, very clean, very clear, takes you where you need to go. Now that one, I literally just said, what failed controls and which ones are critical. Didn't write the regex because writing regex suck. Here it is. It's actually up and put into the system for me. And you can go really quickly and look at, well, what's the rule summary? Who's the user and object? What application is it touching? And then, is it compliance failure? And you can look at this and it'll tell you failed control severity. Again, back to that kind of Firemon specific mathy thing, the severity assigned to the control upon creation, critical, high, medium, low, tells you what that is. And you can look and go, oh, that's a 4. We should probably fix that. On the compliance side, there's other compliance things that you can see in here, like on the compliance dashboard. You can look at your average security concern index. I think it's pretty slick that they've built this assessment SCI trend, the security concern index trend, so that you can look at this and go, am I getting better or worse over time? It's always nice to be able to show people, if we do these things, we're either fixing the problems, there's a trend, or we're not fixing the problems. And if we're not fixing it, why? And then vector in on that. And again, you can do all that from here. Nothing is not clickable, which is super, super useful. Devices by security concern index. Obviously, this Palo Alto one is something you would probably need to look at. And then failed rules by control tag. The tagging feature in this is pretty cool because you're able to go in there and write your own tags so that you can tag things. My Palo Alto firewall or my application, and you can just tag it, your users, whatever you want. You can write your own tags, and it just makes it where those are available to you, and you can plug and play them where you want when you're doing these things, again, because writing regexes sucks. Quantity, audit, that type of thing on the failed controls. And then most severe control failures, the top 10. Now, again, this is cool because you can see everything all in one click. You just say, well, what are all of those? And it's doing this on its own. Remember that, like, this is a takeaway that I had to remind myself of, because the system was intuitively helping me figure these things out. Of if I just let it run, it's making things optimal without me doing much. And if it's not optimal, it's telling me that there's an issue so that I can actually go fix it, which is super useful to do these things at speed and at scale on a big system when you have so many moving parts. Yeah, so those are the control results. Actually, what I wanted to look at was this thing, assessment results, right? So all devices compliance assessment results. And you can see they have best practices, policy optimizer, and PCI. So if you were in a thing and you wanted to say, well, what am I doing, or what rules do I have out there within infrastructure that might hinder my compliance, PCI in this particular instance, you could do that and look. And this is neat because all I did was one click, all devices, compliance, assessment results, PCI DSS, and they're all there. Like one click, you got to it. So, 24.49% control failure, probably something I would want to look at. One critical control failure, we probably would want to figure out why that one critical control failure is doing what it is, and go off and vector into that. Now, you would have to do ticket creation and remote into systems, do things on firewalls, whatever, which is not a big deal, but it is something to be aware of, that it's not necessarily just native to click this and you're inside of a particular thing. So just be aware of that. But, one critical control failure, like that's how simple it was for me to get to it. So if I was, back on that screen, all devices, compliance, assessment results, PCI DSS, what is my one critical control failure? Normally you would be like hunting and trying to mine this out and, wrapping your head around it. You'd probably have spreadsheets and stuff written on a whiteboard. Here, because of the system, one click, PCI, unauthorized, insecure devices, protocols, ports, control code, service risk analysis, the severity, the device itself. And there you go. Like one click, you're on it. Palo Alto Networks, there's the IP address. What is its firewall? How many rules does it have? When was it last updated or revised? And then it's neat that it populates it for you with a map so that you can see what's there and start doing whatever you need to do. It's always good to be able to see visually what's the issue. And then it's nice to kind of know that it's not extremely complex. You can look at the map there and see that it's not really that complex of a problem to fix, but you have a numeric sort of value saying that as well. It tells you sources and destinations, so you could start doing things that you needed to do to make sure you weren't breaking another system. Cumulative severity, so unused, probably something, connections, all this stuff is here. And again, like the takeaway actually is all of this was figured out for me by Firemon, because it's pulling in all that stuff and doing its magic to put it all into graphs and dashboards and numeric scores so that I can know what I need to do to remediate the issue. Again, from someone that sat in the chair doing these types of things at the network level on terminals with spreadsheets, with whiteboards, whatever, this is very, very useful and very, this is what future state infrastructure analysis looks like if you're doing it correctly. You know, traffic flows there, rules that have been changed, all those things that you would usually wind up having to dig through is available to you on the system, on the fly, on demand with a click, and it's all visual. It's all right there. And that's the, I don't think that the magic that brings to this can be understated. So, you know, pretty cool. So again, I don't want to run through every feature in here because this is a very capable system. It would take me days to probably do that. I'm just running through a couple of use cases. I showed you the other one of kind of click, 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 get to what you need to get to. This is the other one I want to run through as far as the risk analyzer overview. And I think that this is something that should be paid attention to really, really well, because this is the system taking in all that stuff that we typically have configured, old on-prem, off-prem, legacy, cloud, non-cloud, It's pulling it together, doing the thing that it does on the back end with its brain. And then it's saying, like, here's your risk, which everyone always talks about risk in this space, but it's really difficult to usually say quantitatively accurately, like, this is why something is risky. It's because of a rule. It's because of a misconfiguration. It's because of a CVE, whatever. But the point being, here, all I've done is fog up a mirror and let the system do its thing, and it's telling me what's risky. You know, assets with vulnerabilities, lots of stuff has vulnerabilities. Critical vulnerabilities, okay, a little bit more of an issue, but really over here, you know, when was things last updated? 7/31/2020. Well, today is April of 2021, so we probably need to get patching. Like, we need to get after our stuff and fix it. But this is a demo system. You can also see that there are trends, which everyone always likes to know which trends are, you know, going up or down or worse or better, etc. Riskiest assets, you know, you could look at this pretty quickly and tell this 10.0.1 is something I would want to look at. There's a lot of 100 risk scores here with root, which is definitely a problem. But it's the other thing to remember, it's right there. Like, you could click and fix and do the thing in this system. I don't need a whole lot of other stuff. It's fast. You're able to get it all. And I'm not configuring a whole lot on the back end. It's just been put together and it's doing its thing to tell me this on its own. And then most common vulnerabilities, you know, why are these big ones out there? The CVSS scores of 10, obviously an issue you'd want to look at and get to. And then, are your rules risky? Like, where are the rules that you've got out there that are configured within all this infrastructure that are risky and might cause a compromise, might cause a failure, might cause a problem? Very, very valuable to be able to look at this and again, have the system figure it out and tell you what's risky. I think that one thing that's not given enough credit to Firemon with this particular solution set and approach is you could kind of solve a lot of your human capital crises if you had a system like this doing what it does, because I'm one person. If it's configured and doing the things that I need it to do, I can see everything and have an ability to touch everything and remote to and fix everything I need to do as one person. I don't need 35 folks with spreadsheets and whiteboards to do network security performance monitoring, fixing stuff, vectoring in on rules, assigning risk, etc. It's all done for me. So, you know, that's something that Firemon doesn't really run roughshod with as far as the problem that they solve. I've kind of discovered that as I've played with. I think the system does help with solving some of that human capital crisis. This is super valuable, the risk map. I could see this sitting up inside of a SOC or NOC, and it's not necessarily just eye candy. It is eye candy, but really you could look at this very quickly and go, well, gosh, what are those red things? Those red things are risky assets. They're red for a reason. You could see where there's an issue. You could vector in on it and try and see what the issue is. Which interfaces are on there. There you go. What the address is. No address on that one. Let's find this one. So they're 10.0.22.0. And I believe, if I remember correctly from my reading, yeah, pretty cool to be able to say, well, can I attack, if I attack this thing, what would that attack look like and how would it be exploited? And there you go, like right click, attack from here, done. You can see number 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of stuck inside of that subnet, but you're able to get to it and it tells you what a score is as far as what that attack analysis sort of looked like. Select recommendation patches to model the new scenario. So I haven't played with this, but let's kind of see what that does. So if I patched those assets, if I patch those, what would that do? All right, well, anyway, I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to throw up, but I think what it's saying is if you ran that attack analysis scenario, and maybe it's just an error on the back end, I don't know, but this is a demo system again. I think what it's saying is if you ran that attack analysis scenario and you said, well, if I patch these things and I run the simulation again, how does it fix that problem? So that could be useful to vector in and go, if I do these things, does it actually fix it? Or is that even really a problem I need to fix right now? If I see that I have 100 super vulnerable things and a whole bunch of misconfigurations, and this is showing up red, can I just run an analysis on it and see if that's actually exploitable or if it's going to be something I need to fix right now this second? So good use of prioritization, I think, if you were running through that and using that for that particular purpose. And then here's your risk analyzer for the assets themselves. And again, it's all devices risk analyzer assets. So it's done this on its own. It's figured out a lot of this stuff and it's put it into a simple thing that I can look at. Now this particular one, 10.0.1, which we saw on another screen, is probably an issue. If I go off and click into it, I'm there. Like that's the value. Like it's that fast. Most severe vulnerabilities, that's a 10 with root, remote. There's the actual CVE. And then you've got this riskiest rules allowing access. So looks like Azure needs some fixing, and it looks like we got some any rules in there that are probably an issue. So very quickly, very easy to go and fix the problem. Actually, here's the 9 rules allowing access. There they are, right? And you can see which things touch what. Here did the regexing for me. Destination intersects 10.0.0.1, which is that vulnerable asset. And then there you go. So in 0.39 seconds, the system basically said what touches what to get to this particular thing that I think I need to fix that has vulnerabilities, and I can go in and do that. So in the context of solving big network problems, knowing what's going on in infrastructure, being able to vector in on risk and actually understand what the problem is and where you should prioritize resources and potentially help with the human capital problem, I think Firemon has done a really good job of making that available within this system. There's a whole lot of other things that you could do in here. You can look at the change dashboard. There's the compliance dashboard with this zone matrix, which is kind of interesting. Here's your PCI stuff. There's your management plane. There's all these policy configurations that you could do. Again, this system is so powerful and so capable. I could do 50 videos and it would take me that long to get through it, but I'm just running through one very limited use case to sort of get just the general side of this thing out there. But if you ask me, like, what would the two takeaways that I would have from using the system, and again, I didn't have formal training, I just got the access and started poking around. It's that you can have this up and running. You can get everything from everywhere. It's going to put it together. It's going to crunch the stuff together. It's going to give you analysis and data points and structured sort of numerical things that you need to know about so that you can fix problems. And you can do that without going through click to click to click to click. Like, it's just up there, click, fix the problem, up there, fix the problem. They have some really nice maps. The topologies are straight. You can see everything within the infrastructure. The system takes care of it itself. And then being able to look at the risk side of this thing really quickly, really easily, to answer that question of what is risky, where is it risky, why is it risky, can we fix it, and then prioritize your approach based on that risk analysis. And all you had to do was exist, because the system does it, is extremely valuable. So that's my quick run through. I think that this system's pretty cool. I would say that this is probably one of the more innovative things that I've seen in the space for big infrastructure, solving big problems and making it where one person can do a whole lot of work at speed and at scale.